Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
I'm very concerned about Michael Russo. He's operating on only 8 toes. His mob name is Mikey 8 Toes, and now he's in California trying to avoid the coronavirus while walking around large groups of people, including people who sweat a lot and who hit each other. I don't know if Michael's ever coming back. Michael, can I have your stuff if you don't come back?
Yeah, you could definitely. You could take it all.
Awesome.
Luckily,
we have that on the record, Brandon.
I found the safest place last night to avoid the coronavirus. I went to the San Jose Barracuda game. There were about 50 people in the crowd, so I felt like that was the safest place to be. It was. If you're worried about me, imagine my mother. I've gotten like 50 texts, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, apparently the governor of California declared a state of emergency yesterday during the game. I don't know really what that entails. The only thing I looked was to make sure that, like, I don't know what a state of emergency means for a pandemic like this. So I just looked them just make sure I could fly to LA tomorrow, which I apparently can. So I think a state of emergency is just more to bring more attention to the fact that apparently there's been some corona virus outbreaks here in California. And if there's any NHL team that's going to get to coronavirus, you know which one that would be. The Wild are the same team that's gotten the mumps like 2 or 3 times. And in fact, they think Ground Zero actually started at the Honda Center in Anaheim for the mumps. That first time that there was ever an outbreak, when I broke the story that the Wild had the mumps at the Strip.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that the St. Louis Blues also had players secretly with the mumps at the time, and both teams came out. And next thing you know, it's all over the NHL. But it was an interesting thing because the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild went through California at the same exact time that October, and they were both in the Honda Center. And I remember every time I used to bring it up to Bruce Boudreau, he would say that we brought it to California, both the Blues and the Wild, because apparently the Wild and the Blues played the final exhibition game that year against each other. So who knows? But if there's any team that's going to get the coronavirus, they've arrived.
Well, and if there's any beat writer who's going to avoid getting the coronavirus, it's not going to be you.
Yeah, that's probably true. I think I avoided the mumps last time. I did wind up on that trip really sick and in the hospital, so maybe I did have the mumps, if I remember correctly. But the other funny thing that I probably shouldn't say this, but I think I've written it before, or said it before, but about a month into the Wild's outbreak with the mumps, Chad Graff realized that he had the mumps. He actually went to the hospital and never looked at his diagnosis sheet when he was discharged, and it actually said on there that he had the mumps. So he had the mumps and never knew that he had the mumps until honestly months later. It was pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
We will actually talk some hockey because this is the Russo Hockey Show, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Check out the new website, TalkNorth.com. Subscribe at your favorite podcast app. And please check out all the new outdoor shows. If you like outdoor shows, we have a ton of them coming out now at TalkNorth.com. Again, subscribing is the best way to find it all. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton, and our sponsors, Tin Shed. Our next 2 live shows will be March 11th and March 25th. There's a Wednesday night, 7 o'clock at Tin Shed. We go for an hour or so, and we love the big crowds that we get to pull out and get to meet everybody. Thanks to Twill and the Edina Galleria, Grey Duck Vodka, Fixology Repair, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent, and our State Farm agent. All right, it's a fascinating thing, Michael, that this team just looked dead in the water for so long this season. And now all of a sudden you have Dean Evason as the coach. You have Kevin Fiala as the star. You have Alex Stalock as the lead goaltender. I did not see any of this coming.
Oh, no, I did. I saw every single thing. Back in October, I remember writing that when the Wild surge into the playoffs, it's going to be Fiala leading in with Evason behind the bench and Stalock and net. So should read a little closer, Jim.
I will start.
Yeah. No, it's been a crazy, crazy month. And frankly, I give a lot of credit, obviously, to Kevin Fiala. I mean, this guy is a different hockey player. He's had, one of the most sensational 15-game stretches of any Wild player in history. He's got multiple point games in 5 consecutive games coming into tonight's game against San Jose. 23 points in the last 15 games. I put the other night that he's on pace for a 66 goal, 126 point season if this 15 games were expanded out to 82. And every goal is just getting prettier and prettier. He's absolutely on a tear right now. It's no fluke. We are seeing him every single night go into every single game and want to make a difference. He wants the puck on his stick. His teammates want to get the puck on his stick. And it's just been absolutely exciting to watch. He is, for Wild fans, it's sometimes bemoan the fact that this team is boring and the same every year, and there's no star power and media that say the same thing. I'm not throwing that just on Wild fans. Suddenly we have somebody that is really exciting to watch on an every night basis. I mean, Zach Parise said it best to me after the game the other night. He's like, and he's scoring nice goals too, not my kind of goals, which is a typical self-deprecating Zach Parise line. He likes to make fun of himself and the greasy goals that he scores. But there's an art to that as well. And we're seeing lately Fiala and Parise team up and really lead this team. Parise's been great the last 5 games. Stalock's been absolutely unbelievable. Evason's got this team playing hard. And right now they've got an opportunity to continue to fly up the standings here because, this is one of those trips where you can see them win every game, and they should win every game. Now, I'm not saying they will win every game. The bubble could burst. They don't often play well in places like LA and San Jose. They do play well a lot in Anaheim. But this is an opportunity. You're playing the 3 teams with the fewest points in the conference on this trip. It's a time to reel off some points here.
We tend to favor live questions at the live shows. For these shows, where Michael's on the phone, I'm back home. We will try to get to a lot of Twitter questions. We do appreciate all the responses we get for that. Hey, thank you to Twill and the Edina Galleria that have been sponsoring this program and the network for a long time now. Scott Dayton runs a really friendly, relaxed shop in the Edina Galleria. Right now, they're going to have a Johnny O trunk show March 6th and 7th. The Johnny O trunk show March 6th and 7th. I really like their shirts. They're kind of wrinkle resistant, comfortable. Right now, if you can save 20% off when you buy 3 or more Johnny O items at the trunk show. You would also receive a free Johnny O gift with purchase while supplies last. So you want to get in there early. So check it out March 6th and 7th. So what, if anything, is Dean Evason doing differently?
Well, I think his in-game management has been really solid. I do think that he's gone to the Stalock well. Often where a lot of times, Bruce would eventually go back to Devin Dubnyk. I think one example of that is just starting Stalock in that second of a back-to-back in Columbus the other day. Now, I'm not saying that Bruce Boudreau would not have, because the circumstances of that game, let's put it this way, after the front end of a back-to-back, you always know who the goaltender is going to be the next night. And that game was one of those games where Stalock was tested so seldomly against the Red Wings, and the flight to Detroit was so quick and easy, 35 minutes in the air, that you just had, and the fact that they didn't skate the next morning also told me that they would come back with them, that it made sense to come back with them. And so I'm not saying that Bruce would not have, but clearly in most cases Bruce would have gone back to the Dubnyk well in that case. And so I think that Dean made obviously the proper decision there. I do just think that there's a air of confidence right now with this team. I don't want to say it's all Dean. I do think that the schedule has been very, very soft the last little bit, and that has allowed the team to win these easy games and then gain confidence that allows them to, in games against Washington, even though the outcome wasn't what they wanted, play pretty much well, other than a couple of minute stints in the first period where there were some mistakes on the ice. But against Nashville the other night, taking advantage of a team that played the night before and had a real difficult loss at home against the Edmonton Oilers, the Wild came out and took care of business that night as well. Got some huge saves from Alex Stalock. I mean, he was just absolutely brilliant, especially in the third period, and that's what you need. So Dean's doing a really quality job right now, and if this team continues to surge toward the playoffs and then can get on a little bit of a run in the playoffs, there's a chance that heck he's going to put himself as a legitimate candidate to be the full-time coach. Who knows? I mean, again, it's early. It's 9 games into his career. Oftentimes in short little sample sizes, I always hear we saw it last week with Galchenyuk has a couple good games against Vancouver and Edmonton. I immediately get tweets. When are they going to extend them? We all got to sometimes hit the brakes and let's see if this can continue toward the end of the season. There was a website the other day, I think it was moneypuck.com, Jim. This is funny. Brandon Molesky from KFAM put this out on Twitter, where the Wild had a better percentage mathematically, according to this website, to win the Stanley Cup than last year's defending champion, St. Louis Blues. Isn't that bizarre?
That is bizarre. I'm not sure I buy it either.
Yeah, I don't buy it either. But I think the mathematics of it is in the mind of this site, the Wild have a better chance of finishing 7th and 8th. And if they finish 7th, they go to the Pacific. And all those teams are beatable, where they'd have an easy run potentially to the conference final than the Blues would have if they stayed in the Central and have to play, say, the winner of, Dallas, Colorado, or something like that.
Right. No, well, there is some mathematical sense there. And the other thing is, I've talked about this before with other Wild teams and last year's team and this year's team for most of the season, is you always felt like the Wild had a ceiling on their capabilities. They had to play almost perfectly to win playoff series or to beat good teams. They were going to have to scratch for goals. All of a sudden now, if you have Fiala who can just go score a goal for you, and you have 4 lines that are rolling well, it doesn't seem as inconceivable that this team could win a playoff series.
Yeah, it does. I mean, as long as they get the goaltending, and that's the most important thing today. They've got to figure that out. It's just got to continue. And there's a lot of pressure now on Alex Stalock to be that guy. He's never played this many games, in his career. He's absolutely lived up to it right now. 10 wins since mid-January, which I put the other day is tied with Vasilevsky for most in the NHL. But you're right. I mean, I know I'm riding the crossover the Pacific train, but I see that as the easiest path, and having to play St. Louis in the first round or Colorado or one of those teams. The Wild, as we know, always play Vegas well. I think that Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary are beatable. And as long as, it comes down to goaltending, guys, and health. I mean, we saw that one year against Dallas when the Wild went in with no Parise and Vanek. The one year against Winnipeg when they went in with no Suter and Spurgeon was playing on a quarter of a leg. I mean, you can't win those type of series when you're without your top pair of defensemen and 2 of your best goal scorers. So it comes down to health and goaltending, and if they get both of those, then there is a chance. I've said all along, to me in this conference, there's only 1 or 2 teams that to me are appreciably better than everybody else. Everybody else is pretty much the same, and that's St. Louis and Colorado. Those 2 are heads and shoulders above everybody, and then everybody else has pretty much been the same all year, up and down. Trust me, as much as the Wild have driven fans nuts with their roller coasters, it's going on in every market. Just look at the standings at the conference and on every single night. It's just teams are go on waves in this league.
Awkward segue. We will actually talk about something this quality, and that's Grey Duck Vodka, which is really making a huge impact in this market now. You're seeing them everywhere. We're lucky to have them sponsoring this program. Grey Duck Vodka is Minnesota's vodka.
When we asked you to get the duck out, wow, did you respond? Grey Duck Vodka is now in over 1,500 locations and expanding every day. This is Chad Greenway, and I just want to say thank you for making Grey Duck Minnesota's vodka. With the wonderful ingredients from Minnesota farmers, Grey Duck is gluten-free and has won 3 gold medals for taste. For all upcoming events and a list of locations carrying Grey Duck, head to greyduckspirits.com.
Please drink responsibly. Grey Duck Spirits, LLC, Lakeville, Minnesota.
Get the duck out.
Anything else you want to get to before I hit you with some Twitter questions?
No.
From Chase Nelson, heard on the Ray and Dregs podcast that the Flames may consider moving Monahan if they don't make the playoffs. Would that be a potential fit for the Wild?
I don't know how much I like him. I mean, he's got talent, but he's somebody that always seems to leave you wanting more. He is. He's an intriguing young kid. Has a great parody account. I think it's called. God, what is that parody account called? It's like boring
Russo
Sean
Slacks?
Monahan or stuff. No, it might be. God, what is that? What was that account called? It's the funniest Twitter account. Even Brian Burke used to tweet it when he managed the Flames. It was something like boring Sean Monahan or I don't know. It was so funny. I'll have to find it. But hey, he's a young center, and right now I think the Wild have to look at all quality, young, talented centers. I mean, the reality about Monahan is that he is consistent, and he's somebody that I think he got 80 points last year. He's scored 30 two or three times in the league. There's just something about his game though that I just think that he falls into lapses. But you know what? He might just need a change there. I don't know. He's just somebody. Something about it's weird because I mean he produces all the time. Last year again, I think he had 30 goals and 80 something points. He definitely was more. If I remember, he was more than a point a game guy. I wish I could look real quick because my phone's on Do Not Disturb and I don't want to do anything in this app. But I'm pretty sure he scored 20 in all six of his in his seasons. But there's just always something about his game that just makes me a little suspicious of just what type of overall player he could be. But look, I mean, he's got size. If I remember correctly, I think he's about 6'3". He's about 25 years old, and again, last year was more than a point a game. So and he's one of the fastest. He's a good skating guy. I guess I'm talking myself into all right. All right, Chase is right.
Well, he's 6'2", 200 pounds, 25 years old. And
didn't he have like 30, 35 goals and 80 points last year?
Last year, 34 goals, 48 assists, 82 points in 78 games. And this year he has 47.
Yeah, so more than a point a game.
Yeah, 47 points in 68 games, minus 15 this year.
And I don't think he's ever scored less than 20. So
he's never
he
scored
scores.
less than 20.
Yeah, he scores. I mean, that's the thing. So I mean, if it's true, absolutely, you got to invest it. I mean, he'd be an upgrade on any Wild center.
Right.
So, but I've got to just see him more. I mean, maybe there's just something when the Wild play them, that I just a lot of times you get a little, you have your opinions almost too tainted in the three games that you see head to head between the team that you cover. There's another player recently that same thing. It's like I've always seen the worst of him, and yet he's a great hockey player. And I was telling somebody that the other day, and I also can't think of who it is, but it's just like we never get to see it. So it's like it just kind of negatively taints my opinion of him. But yeah, you watch him on TV against everybody, and he's just absolutely awesome. So maybe, I mean, hey, you absolutely have to investigate. There's not a center in the league right now that produces, that's young, that Billy Guerin shouldn't at least investigate trading for, because you look at the free agents that are out there this summer and there's just nothing sexy about any of them.
Yeah, good point. Source Dog on Twitter asks, when's the last time a source truly shocked both of you? I'll go first. I can't give up any names, obviously, but when I was a beat writer, I was always amazed how I would work on a general manager or a scout or somebody in the locker room, and I'd work on them and work on them and work on them. They'd give me absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden, one day, they would just tell me everything. It's funny how that can work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest one, probably the most recent one, was when Paul Fenton was being fired. I got a tip that was going to happen, and it allowed me a huge head start to write my story, and I just took the chance that I wasn't being. It just was shocked at the timing of it. I mean, as we even talked about with Bruce, it's like your radar comes down. So, last summer, doesn't that seem like years ago? But it's crazy that it was last August. From toward the end of last season to up until free agency, I kept on hearing that his job was on the line, and so you're prepping just in case, because I knew a lot of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes that had nothing to do with player personnel, more everything I wrote about in my analysis. And but then, once he gets through the draft and once he's able to go and sign Zuccarello in free agency and Ryan Hartman in free agency, it's late August. Nothing's happened in 3 weeks. I went to Europe, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I just think that there's totally times that you kind of, as a reporter, you're helped by sources, but reporter instinct helps you along as well. Where that one, your just radar is completely, it's just off, right? And so we get through the end of August. I sit down with Zach Parisi, end of July. I sit down with Zach Parisi and do that one story, and then 3 days later, Paul's gone, and I'm just glad I was in town for it. That's for sure. But that was probably the one where you're just kind of shocked.
Yeah.
So
from Brett Marshall, could you see the Wild looking at offer sheets in the summer for a center? Obviously, I answer that to some point. Both Domi in Montreal, Cirelli in Tampa Bay are RFAs that I think would fit the bill. Tampa also looking for D. Would a trade involving Dumber or Cirelli be possible?
Maybe trades. I don't think offer sheets. Was that what the question was? Offer sheets?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, trades potentially. I mean, both teams that are mentioned. I mean, Montreal did do an offer sheet last year with Aho, and it didn't work. No offer sheets work ever. They just don't. I've covered the league for 25 years. Okay, starting in 1995-6, full time, starting in 97-98, and since I've covered the league, they're trying to think. 2 offer sheets that were accepted, maybe.
Wow.
Dustin Penner went from Anaheim to Edmonton. And, God, what was the other one? Chris Gratton went from Tampa Bay to Philly. I don't think there's any others. And over that time, I remember Fedorov was offer sheeted by the Carolina Hurricanes and Detroit matched. The Flyers offer sheeted Kessler, and that was matched. I think Edmonton offer sheeted Vanek, that was matched. I'm trying to think what else. Obviously Weber, Philadelphia offer sheeted him, Nashville matched. Aho last year, Montreal offer sheeted, Carolina matched. All you're doing is negotiating the contract for the other team in most cases and blowing up the salary structure of that team. And then usually it winds up being payback and karma for you because you'll get eventually nailed. Brian O'Reilly also, I think, was one. Calgary and gave him an offer sheet and Colorado matched. There's been a couple others along the way. I can't remember them. Did I say Fedorov? I think Fedorov. Sakic once. I mentioned Sakic, but that Rangers offer sheeted him and Colorado matched. It just doesn't work. So, and the only reason why I'm kind of going on a little offer sheet rant here is that I know that it's going to happen this summer. The Wild have all their draft picks, so they have the compensation to give up. The Wild needs centers. Some of these teams have salary cap issues, so you can maybe try to, manipulate that and structure a contract that make it very difficult for those teams to match. But karma's a bitch in this league, and if Billy Guerin does that, he's going to make a lot of enemies, so I just don't see it. So
I didn't know we were going to use harsh language on this show. I would have put out a warning at the beginning of the show. Maybe it's not too late. Hey, by the way, how are your toes? You told us all about your broken toes, and now you're in California. I mean, are you walker? Little tennis balls on the bottom of the walker? How are you getting along?
Yeah, it hurts. Last night I left the Iowa Barracuda game and was following Anthony LaPanta around downtown San Jose trying to find this restaurant/bar. And he has a tendency to walk fast, and I was trying to keep up, and I'm feeling it today.
Did
that
Anthony
massage thing gave me a what's that?
I think you should sue the massage company. Actually,
yeah, it's still really. You guys can laugh all you want. I think I broke a couple toes, so I don't think it's very much a joking matter, Jim.
Well, I do appreciate.
They were crushed by this apparatus. They were crushed by this apparatus.
I do appreciate you giving me permission to laugh at you because usually you don't, and I do anyway. So it's very freeing for me.
Yes. What else?
How
more questions?
Why did LaPanta order?
We didn't have any wine last night. We went to just kind of this cool. It used to be a wine bar, now it's a whiskey bar, and just grabbed a quick bite after the Iowa game. Typically, not a shock. I go to the Iowa game last night, and they have their worst game of the season. I mean, you could tell in the first period they were just off. You know, first 3 goals that went in on Matt Robson, absolutely nothing he could do with. Just breakdowns all over the ice, shanked passes, blown scoring chances. You could see how much they miss Mayhew. JT Brown scored last night, their only goal, but JT Brown and Will Bitten in the bumper position in the slot is not Jerry Mayhew in the slot. You can tell how much Sam Annis missed Mayhew. They just had a really rough game last night, so that was tough. And they're they've got a little adversity coming up here. I mean, we'll see how long Mayhew sits. If the Wild get through this road trip healthy, they might send him back to Iowa. But because right now, obviously, he's not in the lineup unless the Wild have injuries, and I just feel like they don't want to play Victor Rask right now in case they buy him out. They don't want to risk injury. Coincidentally, we were in San Jose when the Wild decided for 100% they were going to buy out Danny Heatley, and in the last seconds of that game, Vlasic and him got into a wrestling match, and Heatley tore up his shoulder, and then they couldn't buy him out. So I don't think you want to risk playing Rask if that's at all an option the rest of the season. So you kind of need an extra forward, but they don't want Mayhew sitting around. So, and then the other thing is, so you got no Mayhew. Kakkonen, as I wrote today, has a broken bone in his hand. Just the flukiest way, Jim, that he breaks his hand. And it's so typical Minnesota Wild, right? This guy is having a monster season for the AHL. He leads them in wins. He leads them in shutouts. His goals against the save percentage are absolutely stellar. And then the other night on Monday afternoon, in front of probably 20 people at the Shark Tank, I think it was Brodzinski from Ham Lake, Minnesota, scores the overtime winner, right? So there's no reaction in the crowd because there's no crowd, right? It's a Monday afternoon in San Jose. I mean, I went to a game last night, I had 200 people, so imagine how many were there. So nobody seems to know that he scores. Then one of the San Jose Barracuda players didn't realize that Brodzinski scored, so he sees the puck in the crease, and he goes lunging for the rebound, the San Jose player. And so Kakkonen looks behind him, sees the puck in the crease, and goes and dives into the play to try to stop the puck from going in the net, not knowing that the only reason why the puck's in the crease was because the goal was already in, and the puck popped out. And when he goes down, he jams his hand and breaks a bone. Oh. And now he's out probably the rest of the regular season. I mean, it's just like, are you kidding? That's how you're going to get hurt? I mean, the poor kid. Wow. And again, I don't want to rip having AHL hockey at the Shark Tank, but my God, if that's in any other building, there's probably a reaction from the home fans that lets the goalie know that the goal went in. And he doesn't dive headfirst in to try to stop the puck that already went in. Wow. So it's just a series of events that are unfortunate. And now the Wild lose their goalie, and again, somebody that Wild fans had been hoping would eventually get called up and maybe, ride this team into the playoffs with Stalock. Right. So, and dude,
Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com, been sponsoring the show for a long time. Downtown Minneapolis in the Skyway, downtown St. Paul in the Skyway, third floor of the Mall of America by Nordstrom's, and in Toledo, Ohio.
Hi, this is John with Fixology Repair. For the better part of a decade, we've been privileged to serve you for all of your jewelry, watch, and smartphone repair needs at the Mall of America. Since Minnesotans largely hate going to the mall, we expanded 2 years ago to reach you in the Minneapolis Skyway. And now this year, we're pleased to announce we have a new location at Wells Fargo Place in the St. Paul Skyway. All 3 shops are equipped to help with your watch and cell phone repair needs on site, while all jewelry, computer, and game consoles will be completed at the Mall of America store. Please bring us your repair challenges, and don't forget to mention the Talk North podcast for a 10% discount on all of our services.
From General Soreness on Twitter, do you think the Wild will spend to the cap ceiling this summer as they have before? I'd like to see the Wild keep some cap space in reserve to provide for some flexibility for when the time comes to make a big move.
Well, this is 1 year where they had a ton of cap space. I mean, absolutely, it's always important to keep cap space. They'll spend if there's a reason to spend. If not, you're not going to spend just for the sake of spending. As I wrote today in my giant 8,000+ word mailbag, Jim, which I know you're going to read every word of.
I'll just read the verbs.
The Wild have to save pretty much $3.775 million in cap space for Kirill Kaprizov, because the way it works is, he gets a $925,000 salary, but he can make up to $2.85 million in bonuses. So, that 3.775 goes against the cap in case he hits those bonuses. And then if the Wild are more than 3.775, you're allowed to go over the cap by 7.5%. So if the Wild are just under the cap by, say, $2 million, and he hits his bonuses, then the Wild would suffer an overage the following year of, say, $1.75 million. That's a real remedial, quick way of kind of explaining it. So, you're going to have to, and plus the Wild have other entry level guys that have technically a chance to hit their entry level bonuses that you have to at least account for. So, I guess my point is that you have to at least leave room for that. And you have to, now it's the time where, and it's a good problem to have. Now is the time that you have to genuinely start thinking about the future. So you don't just, sign guys to deals next year and put yourselves in potentially harm's way when you know that guys like maybe Jonas Brodin needs to be extended. Maybe Kevin Fiala is extended this summer or definitely next year. There's a lot of, all of a sudden, if some of these kids really, again, Kirill Kaprizov is going to be on a 2-year deal. So if he has a monster one and first couple of years, you're going to have to sign him to a huge second contract. So, now all of a sudden, Billy Guerin's going to have to start really forecasting into the future. So going out this summer and spending money just to spend money makes no sense. So, I agree. I think I agree with whoever said that you don't want to just get close to the cap. You want to leave yourself room.
From Nick Anthony on Twitter, how's Doobie handling Stalock all but taking his job?
Yeah, I did a game story the other night where we talked to Dubnyk in the morning, and Doobie was extremely professional, mature about it. After the game the other night, he was like he always is when Stalock gets a win. He gave him a big hug and was genuinely excited about it. I think he gets it. He understands it has not been a good year for him. He understands right now that the objective for this team is winning games and going with the hot hand. And right now, Stalock's playing great. So he's being a very good teammate. He says in that story, this is 2 stories ago on The Athletic. He says in that story that Stalock always throughout his career supported him throughout every step of the way, and that he's absolutely going to do the same here. So he's being professional and mature about it is not a shock.
Yeah, not a surprise.
Devin Dubnyk.
Absolutely. From Jeff Ruland, most likely candidates to be top line center between Kaprizov and Kevin Fiala next season.
I don't know. I mean, I could tell you that Billy Guerin does not know yet whether or not his center is going to come via trade or free agency. He just knows he needs to get one. So the easiest way to get a top of line center is to make a trade, and that trade would have to probably include Brodin or Dumba. If not, there's just not a lot of great centers available. The most intriguing center probably out there right now is Erik Haula. He's a couple years removed from scoring 29 goals with the Vegas Golden Knights, but he is bouncing around, and there's a reason for that. He's played for Vegas, Carolina, and Carolina got rid of him really quickly and sent him to Florida for an asset at the deadline. And this is a Carolina team that was fighting for their playoff lives that was willing to give away Erik Haula at the deadline. So, that could be a red flag for Billy Guerin. But when I look at the free agents this upcoming year, there's just not a lot there. And, that's one reason why they're giving Galchenyuk a look right now at center. I thought that made the most sense is, it's the reason why the press conference, I asked 2 or 3 questions when they got Galchenyuk about doing this. And even though Galchenyuk's flamed out at centers everywhere before, the only way that he really, to me, has a chance of being re-signed with the Minnesota Wild is at a center position, not at a wing position. That's where the need is, up the middle. And so they're, this is 4 or 5 games. They've given him a look at center. He's played pretty well. That line with Foligno and Zuccarello hasn't been outstanding, but Galchenyuk is somebody that at least Evason says he likes right now at that position. He definitely, the one thing about Alex Galchenyuk, and this has been his MO for his entire career, is that he works his butt off. That has never, ever been an issue with him. And we're seeing that. Where the issues have been with him is hockey sense up the middle. He definitely has the skill. and then sometimes making sort of soft board plays that wind up, costing you if your goalie doesn't come and make a big stop on you. And we saw it in one game, I think against the St. Louis Blues, where he made a soft play on the top of the zone and it wound up costing a goal. So those are the issues. But right now, so far, Galchenyuk's fit in quite well. He seems to be loved in that locker room. He was liked in the Pittsburgh locker room too, and he seems to have found a comfort level. So maybe it makes sense to at least give him a 1-year flyer on $1 million deal and see if he wants to take a prove me contract.
Next question is from Russo Slacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't the usual groan. It was more introspective. It was more philosophical sound that you made there. But first, we do want to thank Tony Hoagland, HOAGLUND, your State Farm agent. He's my State Farm agent. He's Michael Russo's State Farm agent.
Every team knows that the two-point play can be a winning move. That's why State Farm agent Tony Hoagland and his team are here to help you go for two by combining your home and auto insurance. It's a great call that saves you time and money. So go for the win and score savings by combining your home and auto. It's just another way we're here to help life go right. Call State Farm agent Tony Hoagland at 763-421-4900 or online at champlaininsurance.com.
So Russo Slacks asks, did you fire up the foot massager on your flight to San Jose? Are you allowed to take those on planes?
I don't think that thing would fit in front of me in the seat. There's no doubt about it. So I had another experience with a woman just slammed her seat back almost, honestly, about 3 times, almost snapped the lid off my laptop. The last one was very, very close. So that was a little scary. But no, I did not bring the foot massager on this trip.
I don't want to get into the whole "can you recline" argument that's been tearing around Twitter and every place else, but you should at least ask or look back, because you will.
Well, I don't even care. I just think just look to see if somebody's using a laptop, and then if they are, don't slam the seat back, or at a minimum, just say, "Hey, do you mind if I move back?"
Right.
And at least I can adjust instead of being, midway through focused on this giant mailbag I'm writing, and next thing I know, I almost have the laptop just snapped off. I mean, it's just don't get it, but whatever.
From Dan Waldron.
There's some people that just think that going a half an inch back in your seat makes you more comfortable.
Yeah.
So
from Dan Waldron, are you for or against the Wild making the playoffs at this point?
Well, I mean, I'm not either. I mean, I'm the B.
No, but I mean, no. Let me rephrase it.
I want to cover.
Is it better for the organization if they make the playoffs or miss the playoffs at this point?
I think. Look, if they miss the playoffs, they're still going to have the 15th worst lottery odds anyway, right? So, what's the difference in trying to make it versus not at this point? The chances of winning the lottery and skyrocketing up to the top is slim. It's happened before with teams like Chicago and New York under these new rules. But look, at this point, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, at this point, the team is the team. The team is trying to make the playoffs. They're working their butt off. There's no way to orchestrate as much as I hate the word, a tank at this point. So, I said it either to you or on another show last week. At this point, just enjoy it. We're all hockey fans. Just enjoy watching the sport when it matters most. This is fun stuff. And if they get in, they get in. The one thing I will say is that in my eyes, and maybe Wild fans don't look at it as closely as I do, this is not like the last couple years where they barely missed, where you looked at the organization and there's not a lot of kids coming. The Wild have a lot of quality kids right now that look like they have a chance to play and eventually be Minnesota Wild players. Not just, not so much in Iowa, but, the one thing, as I said before, the good thing that Paul Fenton did the last 2 drafts that he was a part of was he kept his draft picks. So, they've had numbers the last couple of years. And so you got Kaprizov coming. You have Hovinoff lighting it up in Moncton. You got Giroux lighting it up in his league. You got Beckman lighting it up in his league. There's you got Boldy that is absolutely on fire right now at Boston College. And that's one thing. Like, I remember when the Wild drafted Matt Boldy, everybody told me how good this player was going to be. And that was a PJ Fenton pick, by the way. And PJ's proud of that pick. And so, and now we're seeing that, just like a lot of guys that go to Boston College and have slow starts to their careers, He's playing well. You could debate all you want. Should they have taken Caulfield? Should they have taken Newhook? Whatever. But look, they took Boldy. Root for the kid. Right now, he looks outstanding. So, and they have a lot of other guys that aren't household names, that are eventually going to kind of be here and have a chance. So I guess my point is that if they pick 14th versus 10th or 18th versus 12th, at this point, it doesn't matter. You just rely on your scouts to get the good player. And at this point, just live in the moment and enjoy what's going on here. Because we're starting to see players play well. We're seeing the best of Erickson Ek. We're definitely the last month seeing the best of Jordan Greenway. Luke Cunnin the other night returns to the lineup and executed an instant spark. Donato in limited minutes is playing really well. Fiala's been an absolute star. Parisi's playing great. Their top four have been, for the most part, excellent. Suter, Spurgeon, Brodin, and Dumba. They're excelling with Hunt and Patterson in the lineup somehow. Right now they're playing well. So just enjoy it.
That's the thing, is that I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the XL Energy Center thinking, okay, maybe they get a couple deflections or ugly goals and they find a way to win this game, but it's probably not going to be much fun. This is actually fun. And a lot of it, some of it's Stalock because he's a cool guy and he's playing really well. But a lot of it is Fiala. It's different when you go to the rink and you might see a star performing like a star.
Yeah, like just imagine being an Oilers fan and every single night getting to watch Draisaitl and getting to watch McDavid. Like Draisaitl is, I think I can't remember if I told this story, but when I first of all, this is why I love the NHL. When I was doing the Dean Evason feature earlier last month when he was hired, you just start to think, all right, who should I call for this feature? And one guy that I knew that was tight with Evason and played with him in Hartford and Binghamton was Dave Tippett. So you just call up the Edmonton Oilers coach. That's why I love covering this league. I mean, literally just call the cell phone, and where you just can't do that in any other league. But when I was talking to Tippett that day, they had just gotten back from Carolina the night before, or that night. They got back at in the wee hours of the morning, and I talked to him that around noontime, and he was just going on and on and on to me about Leon Draisaitl and how well he was playing and how he was really lifting that team on his back with McDavid out of the lineup. And if you watch Draisaitl, and by the way, this is coming from somebody that traded Draisaitl in his fantasy league 3 years ago, so it just pains me. He is an absolute stud. And you look around these other teams and you just see how fun it must be to be a Leafs fan and watch Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, and for the years that Chicago's gotten to watch Patrick Kane, and before that Panarin, and what Panarin's done with the New York Rangers this year, and the rise in Philly of guys like Konechny, and obviously Crosby and Malkin, and the Colorado fans getting to watch Rantanen and Landeskog and McKinnon. And so this is to me now is the time to a Wild fan to watch these games, because Fiala is legitimately becoming a stud right now. He realizes his talent and is taking it to this next level where, I said this on the radio, so I know that this might be a broken record to a lot of Wild fans that have heard me on the fan the last couple of weeks or days. But the 2 games ago, I was watching Fiala, and it dawned on me that this is the first time since Marian Gaborik that I've covered a Minnesota Wild player where everybody in the stands and everybody in the press box is thinking, on the power play, get the puck on Fiala's stick. Give it to him, give it to him, give it to him. Because you just know that he knows that he can do something to change the game at that point. And what's really cool right now is we're seeing it on the ice with that number 1 power play unit. We are seeing Ryan Suter, who's the quarterback of that unit, every single time calling for that puck high at the point to make sure that he can get it to Kevin Fiala to let him go to work, because everybody on the ice sees what we're seeing. And so that's a cool thing right now. And so Wild fans should, 15 games left, 16 games left in this regular season, just enjoy this, watch it, and then hope that he has another big summer, because he came to camp in incredible shape. And one has to wonder if coming to camp so late just caused him that tough first month of the season. Because really from early November on, he's been a quality player. Then the last 15, he's been a stud. It's really star power. But he had a great summer. Like you look at the shape that he came into. I remember Bruce Boudreau and Billy Guerin being so worried when he came in so late to camp on what type of shape he was going to be in, because he wasn't in great shape when he got here from Nashville last year. And then he did the fitness testing and blew, the minds of Boudreau and Guerin. So just imagine if he has another summer, comes in with the same confidence, what type of player he's got the ability to be next season.
Reminder, next live shows March 11th and 25th. Those are Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock at Tin Shed in Savage. That's tinshedmn.com. Check out the website. You'll see, if you forget when the shows are, you can always go to tinshedmn.com, and it will have the dates up there, as well as a picture of rosy-cheeked, broken-toed Michael Russo. As always, we didn't get to all the good Twitter questions, but we do appreciate them all. Let's get Michael to give us a final thought. And again, subscribe for this show and the network at Talk North on your favorite podcast app.
Well, really my final thought I'll just say, because I know that people are probably asking, is when's Ryan Donato going to become a regular on this team? And it's probably a good question. And, somebody asked me a question on my mailbag that was really interesting, and it's actually a little concerning. They asked me if I was the coach of the team, what would my lines be next year with Kaprizov coming and considering another center? And all of a sudden I started doing the lines, and this, of course, Jim, is assuming that everybody is back, right? I'm not trading anybody. I'm signing a free agent. I'm buying out Rask, and I'm not re-signing Galchenyuk. That was kind of what I said in my mind is going to be the lines, okay? And so when I did it, I said, all right, in my mind, I want Fiala and Kaprizov on different even strength lines, but maybe the same power play, okay? So I went Parise, Staal, Fiala, and then I went Kaprizov, and then whoever the new center would be, whether it's free agent or an acquisition, and then Matt Zuccarello. And then I had Jordan Greenway, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Luke Kunin. And then I had a fourth line of Marcus Foligno, Nico Sturm, and Ryan Hartman. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm like, wait a minute, where the heck's Ryan Donato? Yeah. And that's when it really dawned on me, all right, one, here's exactly in front of you with words why the Wild have, one, had to trade Jason Zucker, why he was going to be the guy. But two, why it was so short-sighted last year to sign Zuccarello. It just felt like, where were they gonna? They were gonna create another Nino situation where they had to trade Nino because he was on the fourth line. Well, now they have that similar situation with Ryan Donato. So right now, the way things are looking, unless there's a way to, downgrade Zuccarello or maybe trade a Greenway, Foligno, or Donato this summer, I mean, those would probably be the lines coming into next year. And it's also kind of the reason why I think we're seeing right now why it's so hard for Donato to move up in the lineup. I mean, the Zuccarello, presence has kept him sort of downgraded, and so it's a tough thing that the organization is going to have to figure out this year. Now, the other way to look at it optimistically, glass half full, is that the Wild have a lot of talent. That's incredible depth when you have Ryan Donato just sitting there. But it's a shame that this kid is just in this position where it's like no matter what he does, he just can't get elevated into the lineup. We just saw with Jerry Mayhew, they just called him up from the minors and played him 4 games on a top line and not on a power play. And poor Ryan Donato is continuing to play 9-10 minutes a night on the fourth line. Now, I know why Dean Evason doesn't want to change that line, because the Hartman, Koivu, and Donato line has been so good. So why break something why fix something that isn't broken? But it just feels like Ryan at a minimum should be on the power play. But because all he does is score. It's really, I feel for the kid. I am impressed with his patience and the fact that he, at least outwardly to all of us, has been professional about something that's got to be frustrating behind the scenes. But it would be nice to see him get a little more ice time in this lineup.
Good stuff from Michael. Thanks to everyone who listens. Check out all the shows at TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. And we'll see you Wednesday night, March 11th, 7 p.m. at Tin Shed in Savage.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world